Welcome. Thanks for joining me tonight, guys. Appreciate you always coming back. If you're new here, welcome, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. Thank you for being here. Before we dive in, which we all know what we're talking about, we are talking about the murders of 27-year-old Veronica Butler and 39-year-old Jillian Kelly as they were going to pick up Veronica's children from the children's grandmother, this lovely lady right here, Tiffany Adams. Now, before we really dive in, I want to let you know that the documents that we're going to be going over tonight are available on my website. If you go over to my website, gavinfish.com, click on cases, you will find Veronica and Jillian's photo right there. You will see all the videos I've done, and then you'll see the case documents. Now, the case documents are, most of them, there are a couple that are not, but most of them are only accessible if you're a patron of mine over on Patreon. But don't worry if you're not. We're going to go through those documents, a couple of them right now. Now, a lot of people ask me, Gavin, why do you put things behind a paywall like that? It's very simple. My patrons are the ones that make it possible for me to gather these docs. And without their support, I wouldn't be able to afford to do it. The time it takes, the money it takes, I can't do that without my patrons. And so they're the ones that get full unfettered access to the documents over here on my website. But for everybody else who supports me, you guys all support me by watching, sharing, liking, subscribing. Hey, you get to watch them here on YouTube. So that's how I do that. So if you do want to support me financially, you can do that through Patreon. Go over to my website and click this little button up here, and that will take you over to Patreon. Okay, let's go ahead and maybe I don't even think we need to do that much of a backgrounder on this. I mean, we've done so many videos, and the videos the docs that I'm going to read tonight kind of give it to us anyway. So going back over the website, let me just show you what has come out in the last few days. They're all these search warrants. Boom, boom. Let's see. Boom, 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 boom. You can see that the defense actually tried to get the warrants sealed. They were unsuccessful in doing that. So out of all those warrants, most of them say the exact same thing. Most of them all say the same thing. So we're just going to take a look at a couple of them and we're going to glean some information that we have not gleaned yet. If you guys in the chat want to get my attention, just put GF in the chat, and that will help me to be able to find your chat. Okay, here we go. I really kind of buried the lead tonight. I'm really not on my game. I was texting with my little sister, and she's got me all nervous, all hot and bothered. But here we go. All right. What we're looking at here is a search warrant for a piece of property owned by a man named Jamie Beasley. Jamie Beasley had this large piece of land, over 900 acres, that was being leased by this guy, Tad Cullum. Tad Cullum is the snuggly wuggly bear of Tiffany Adams. Tad had leased this property in order to graze cattle. So there was a search warrant for that area because, as we know, that is where the bodies of our victims, Jillian and Veronica, were found. But let's see what else we can learn here, okay? There's a lot that we already know, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and read because it's only a couple pages. Okay, so your affiant, this is Jason Ott from the OSBI. We've seen his name before. Your affiant has probable cause to believe that in the location, either above or below ground, known as this, and that is the property, a rural property in Texas County, Oklahoma, with one residence, one round top shed, multiple smaller outbuildings, and approximately 970 acres of pasture land. This is a big piece of land, and there is a digital photo of this land. That is a metric butt ton of land. That is a lot of land. All right. So let's get back to where we were. Zoom in here. Okay. All within the county of Texas, state of Oklahoma, there is now being concealed certain evidence, namely the bodies of Veronica Butler and Jillian Kelly, clothing worn by Butler to include a gray screen-printed t-shirt, blue jean denim shorts, dark-colored socks, and gray Hey Dude shoes, clothing worn by Kelly to include a long-sleeve blue plaid shirt, a ring, a pink-red V-neck shirt, blue jean capri-length pants, white low-top shoes, cell phone owned by Butler with this phone number, jewelry worn by Butler or Kelly, cell phone owned by Kelly with this phone number, a 380 Taurus handgun. So just so you guys know, a 380 is kind of a small. They are designed mostly as carry and conceal type of guns. They fit really well inside a purse or in some kind of concealed holster, either on your leg or on your hip, on your back. It's kind of a small gun, but definitely one that will get the job done. So she had a 380 Taurus handgun with a silver slide, black handle, loaded with a full magazine of 380 hollow point ammo, one live round in the chamber, and a cloth holster. Stun guns, oil dry or kitty litter used for liquid absorption, trace evidence, biological DNA evidence, digital photographs, spatial scans, and all other evidence of the crime of murder and assault and battery with a deadly weapon. So he's basically, he did give us some very detailed, very specific stuff, but really at the end there, he's like, hey, it could be anything we want. We want carte blanche here, okay? Further, Urafiant states in support of this application and for the showing that there's probable cause for the issuance of a search warrant as follows. And again, we've gone through this, but I want to read it again just so we know what we're talking about here. Okay, March 30th, 2024. Veronica Butler and Jillian Kelly were traveling to the Four Corners location of Highway 64 and 95 in Texas County, Oklahoma, for Butler to do a child custody exchange with Tiffany Adams at 10 a.m. They were driving in Butler's vehicle. Adams currently has custody of Butler's children. Butler and Kelly did not arrive at the Four Corners location, and their vehicle was found just west of Highway 95 on County Road L, which is approximately 5 miles north of the Four Corners location at approximately 12:09 p.m. Law enforcement was contacted. We all know that family went out looking for them. So law enforcement was contacted and the OSBI was requested to conduct an investigation. Blood was located on the ground beside Butler's car, and it had either oil dry or kitty litter poured on it to absorb the liquid. That is why they have requested it up here, right? It's kind of odd that you would put it there and then leave it there. I don't know why would you, I don't know. That speaks to malice aforethought, right? They had that planned. Okay, through investigation, it was determined that Butler and Kelly arrived at Highway 95 and CRL at 9:40 a.m. Both Kelly and Butler's phones stopped transmitting data and went dead at 9:42 hours. So they were short of the Four Corners area. Obviously, they were making good time. They were right on time to arrive before 10 a.m. Okay, neither Kelly nor Butler nor were their cellular phones found at the location where Butler's vehicle was found. All the clothing and jewelry worn on Butler and Kelly and the Taurus handgun owned by Kelly were not present at the location where the vehicle was found. OSBI investigation showed that Adams purchased 3 prepaid cell phones from Walmart. We've talked about this, guys. This is Gavin's iron law of criminal mastermindery at work here. We should start calling it Gavin's razor. But it's not mine. I stole it from somebody else. I heard it somewhere, right? But my iron law, if you think you have what it takes to be a criminal mastermind, that is evidence in and of itself that you have not what it takes to be a criminal mastermind. She bought these burner phones at a place where there are cameras everywhere and they retain them. It was dumb. Anyway, okay, the phones were identified by these phone numbers. Search warrants for information related to location services and phone usage were completed for each device. It was learned that all 3 phones were at the area where Butler's car was located and the last known location of Butler and Kelly at the time of their disappearance. And these highlighted things, I did this. After their disappearance between 10:16 a.m. and 10:35 a.m., it was determined that these 2 phone numbers were at a property owned by Mr. Beasley, below a dam in the pasture where fresh dirt work was located by your affiant. Just once again, I mean, I know that we've talked about this before, but these ponds are retention ponds for a lot of different things. Sometimes they're recreational. Most of the time, if you're talking about grazing land, then this is a water source for cattle, right? Or it's a water source for some kind of irrigation. That's usually what these are. They're usually built on kind of an incline where they can then create a dam that makes a pond. So below the dam, we're not talking about a concrete, reservoir style dam. We're talking about an earthen made out of clay and earth that will hold water for the purposes that we just talked about. So it's not like this huge thing. It's going to be a small thing, little pond. Concrete was moved from a location near Beasley's residence approximately 150 to 200 yards to below the dam, where it was discovered that a hole had been dug and filled back in. It is believed by your affiant that the moved concrete is in the hole. The location where Butler and Kelly disappeared from and where Butler's vehicle was found is approximately 8.5 miles from the location below the dam on Beasley's property, giving a drive time from the location to where Butler's vehicle was found to Beasley's property well within the 34 minutes between the time of Butler Kelly's phone stopping transmission and prepaid phone numbers arriving at the dam on Beasley's property. Jamie is reminding you guys to please put GF in your comments and I will be able to see it. Let me just put that up there real quick because basically I keep a filter on so that I'm not having to read through hundreds of comments sometimes. Okay, so remember that GF. Okay, Beasley advised that the dirt work was done with a skid steer by Tad Cullum. This guy right here. Big winner. On March 29th, 2024, and was possibly finished on March 30th, 2024 in the morning hours. Beasley knew that Cullum left his skid steer on his property the night of March 29th, 2024, and when he awoke on March 30th at approximately 1200 hours, so that's noon, the skid steer was gone. Cullum rents the pasture property owned by Beasley for grazing cattle or for cattle grazing and has access to it at any time. This is typical, by the way, guys, in rural America. I mean, I don't live in Oklahoma. I live in Pennsylvania, but it's not uncommon if a family owns many hundreds or many thousands of acres. They may not have any use for part of it, but they want to keep it in the family. They don't want to sell it for a lot of different reasons. And so they will lease out portions of their land for other farmers to use that would put their land to good use and maybe help it for the next thing they want to do. For example, cattle grazing is a great way to kind of move around the earth a little bit, to eat down the weeds and grasses, and to add nitrogen nutrients so that maybe later if you wanted to grow some kind of large crop like corn or beans or something, you'd be able to do that. So it's very, very typical. Okay. You guys probably already know this. I don't know why I do those little sidebars. But anyway, on March 28th or 29th, Cullum asked Beasley if he could cut a tree down, remove a stump, bury some concrete, do dirt work where the concrete pile was and below the dam. Adams was with Cullum at Beasley's property when that conversation was had. In a contact with Cullum, your affiant learned from Cullum that Adams is his significant other. Beasley agreed to allow Cullum to do the work. Cullum brought up the idea of doing the work to Beasley. All right, so he's like, hey, what's Mr. Beasley's name again? Jamie. Hey, Jamie, I'd like to bury all that concrete on your property. I could dig it down there below the dam. I could bury the concrete, maybe take down that old tree, dig up that old stump. Is that okay if I do that? And of course, the farmer's like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. And I mean, again, that's something that happens all the time in rural America. We've got friends out here in Pennsylvania that when we moved out here 7 years ago, they just had a giant hole like in front of their home on the property. And when asked what it was the remnants of an old house, and that was the basement, but they were just slowly filling it up with junk and then eventually covered it over. It's a rural thing, okay? They're like micro landfills, I guess, right? Little private micro landfills. Okay, based on your affiant's training and experience, he wishes a search warrant for the above described property in order to obtain the above described evidence be issued. Your affiant believes that probable cause exists to believe the bodies of Butler and Kelly and the other listed evidence of murder in the first degree, murder and assault and battery with a dangerous weapon will be found on the above described property. That is murder in the first degree murder. That's kind of written weirdly, but you know what? That is nitpicking because he has done, Investigator Ott has done a great job on these. Now, as you guys know, and for those of you who may not, what we've just read is the affidavit of probable cause for the purpose of getting that search warrant. I'm going to bring this up one more time. What has to happen is they write that and then a judge will say, yeah, okay, I'll sign off on that. That's probably a good idea. I think probable cause does exist, and they will issue a search warrant. Okay. So when we go back over here, we get through that digital thing. This is the actual search warrant, and it is an order to any law enforcement officer in the state of Oklahoma to basically look for the bodies based on the affidavit. Here's where you can look. This is how it's described. This is what you should be looking for, and we're doing it because of these two charges. So that is the actual search warrant. It is the command to search that property. Okay, so the search warrant affidavit was issued on April 12th at 12:16 p.m. The search warrant itself was issued 1 minute later. I guess they were talking to the judge, right? Okay, you've read it, Judge? Do you agree? Okay, I'll sign the application. The judge signs the warrant. Okay, the next thing that happens is once a warrant is executed, they are responsible for going back to that judge and offering an inventory of everything that they found. So that is always the third part. It's called the search warrant return. So just pro tip, for any time you're searching for documents or requesting documents using Freedom of Information Act, Open Records Law, Sunshine Law, Freedom of Information Law, whatever law, right to know law, they're all named different things. When you're looking for search warrants, you are looking for those three things: search warrant affidavits, search warrants, and search warrant returns. If you just ask for the search warrant, you'll get the middle one that doesn't really have all that much information. Got to ask for all three. Okay, so let's go to, that's the end of the search warrant, and the search warrant attached that digital photo. This is the pond right here, looks like. Man, I would love to see the topography of that area. To me, I don't know where the dam is on this one. I can't tell, but it'll be on one of those sides of the dam. The dam will be one of those sides. It could be all of the sides. They could build it up if it's flat land, but that would be the pond. And then That's actually quite a sizable pond. That's probably 1 or 2 acres there. Okay, anyway. Now, here is the search warrant return, and I wanted to just kind of go over it, and we just want to look at the inventory. Okay, so what they got was a USB drive of dig site photographs, evidence, and Faro files. So those will be obviously they didn't dig up a USB drive, but when they were there and they were taking digital photographs and scans, 3D scans of the area, they have to give that as part of the inventory to the judge. They found Wrangler blue jeans with black belt and possible blood. They can't just say, "Hey, there was blood on this." When it's, I mean, we all recognize what blood is, but they're going to need an expert, a serologist, to say, "Yes, that is human blood." So they put down possible blood. Brown sweatshirt with possible blood. Black hooded sweatshirt with possible blood. Wrangler blue jeans with possible blood. Reddish pink hooded sweatshirt with possible blood. Roll of duct tape with possible blood. Pair of white Ariat socks with possible blood. Gray t-shirt with possible blood. Black handle saw. Oh. That actually makes me wonder if there was some kind of dismemberment. I guess if there were, there would be with possible blood on it. Okay. 8 wet swabs, so they would have swabbed things. Those might be to identify the ladies. There might be a lot of reasons for that, to identify DNA that is at the scene. 1 ratchet strap, another ratchet strap, a Carhartt black jacket with possible blood, cloth glove with possible blood, black K-bar knife in sheath with possible blood. That reminds me of the Idaho 4. It's one of those a K-bar knife is like those Rambo style old Marine Corps knives. Gray ball cap with possible blood, blue white ball cap with possible blood. Oh, you know what that reminds me of? I think she was a Dodgers fan. I wonder if that blue and white ball cap was a Dodgers cap. Pair of cloth gloves with possible blood, blue-gray Skechers tennis shoes with possible blood, tan Ariat shoes with possible blood, a black taser with a flashlight, so that's probably a combo, right? Gray Dickies t-shirt with possible blood, and electrical cord and small black tape. Now, obviously, what is not listed on this, in their inventory are the bodies of Veronica and Jillian. To my knowledge, that does not happen in a search warrant return inventory. There will be another file that will show that. Okay. All right, and there's Investigator Ott signing off on the 26th of April. So they went from the 12th to the 26th. Doing that search and inventorying things and so forth to get back to the district court judge who signed off that they received the return. Okay, so that is the first document that I want to show you guys. We learned a lot there. I highlighted the stuff that we learned, right? That dirt work was done by a skid steer. That one was new to me. I mean, we've all known about the dam and the pasture and so forth, but that one I felt is important. Okay, the next document that I want to show you is another one of the search warrants. This warrant is basically it's asking a judge to give them permission to take a buccal swab of Tiffany Adams. So a buccal swab is like a Q-tip. It's a sterile Q-tip. And they swab the inner cheeks of the mouth because that's where a lot of skin sloughs off. So they're able to collect a lot of DNA. So they were looking to get DNA from Tiffany Cullum. I mean, if we go over to the website real quick, you can see that they did it all for that. I mean, they did a search warrant for Cole's DNA, Cora's DNA, Tad's DNA, Tiffany's DNA, Paul Grice's DNA. You know what? Now is a really very good time. So Tiffany Adams, Tad Coulombe, Cole Twombly. I've also heard it pronounced Toombly. Cora Twombly, or Toombly, and then Paul Grice. Okay, that's who we're talking about here. So anyway, they took buccal swabs of everyone, and the search warrant affidavits are almost exactly the same for each one of those. And I'm not going to go through all the stuff, but basically he's saying, hey, I would like DNA, a known DNA sample from a buccal swab taken from her, because of these counts against her. Okay. Then there's all the factual bases that we already read. But there's a couple new things. The last I knew, there was an understanding in some of the PCAs that I've read that Rickman had said that the grandmother said that Rickman said that Tiffany Adams said that she's going to basically do violence against Veronica Butler. That was the last that I had heard. Now we read through the child custody case between Adams and Veronica Butler. Recordings were obtained where Rickman, who is the son of Tiffany Adams, the baby daddy of Veronica's children. So recordings were obtained where Wrangler Rickman discussed death threats by Adams and Adams' boyfriend, Tad Coulombe. So these are the two people that there are recordings of them having made death threats against Veronica Butler, right? Okay. And of course, we had known that Rickman's grandmother had said that she knew that there was going to be some violence against her and the judge. Okay. Let's keep going down. We've covered a lot of this. Okay. OSBI investigation showed that Adams purchased 3 prepaid cell phones from Walmart, which we knew about. The phones were identified by these phone numbers, search warrants. We know all that, right? It was learned that all 3 phones were in the area of where Butler's car was located, which we knew. After their disappearance at 10:16 and 10:35, the phone numbers showed up on that property owned by Jamie Beasley below the dam in the pasture. Okay. Concrete was moved from a location near Beasley's residence, which we knew about that, where it was discovered that a hole had been dug and filled back in. It is believed by your affiant that the moved concrete is the hole. The location where Butler and Kelly disappeared from, we read all that, about 34 minutes away from where the car was, right? Okay. On April 13th, a search warrant was executed at Jamie Beasley's property, and an excavation of a possible burial site was commenced based on the search warrant that we just read. On April 14th, a chest freezer was excavated and opened. Within the chest freezer, the bodies of Butler and Kelly were located. So, yeah, that's brand new to me. I think that was it on this file. Yeah, they did grab the buccal swab from Tiffany Adams. So that is what we've learned from these documents. And again, you can go over to the website where if you are a patron of mine, you can have access to all of this and you can read it all for yourself. And as we continue on this case, the court clerk is a woman named Renee. Renee is amazing. She is awesome. She's very responsive. So anytime there's anything new, I will reach out to Renee and I will put it here on the website for you guys to see. Okay. With that, let us go to your questions. Statham's Peacoat. Gavin, I'm curious what the tone of Grandma's police confession. I'm curious if they broke her down or she fessed up pretty quickly or what. Yeah, I've thought about that a time or two. I've been curious myself. I don't think that it's natural for somebody to ever give up the goods just like that. I mean, unless they really know they're caught, right? I. But in having said that, in looking at her mug, she does kind of strike me as the kind of person that would just go, "Yeah, okay, I did it. You caught me. Good." She might have had that kind of haughty attitude. I don't know. That is a good question. Tennis Girl 101. Gavin, do you know who decided the meeting place and where they murdered? Were they murdered at the meeting place or close to it? Okay, that is a good question. So the meeting place, they apparently, both Adams and Butler, Veronica, decided on that meeting place. It was a place where they had met before. It was convenient to both of them. It was a longer drive for Veronica, but it was a convenient and public place to make the exchange. Of course, I don't think it was public enough. But I mean that. I do think that it was the best option that they had. It wasn't a place where a lot of people were, but in this part of the Oklahoma Panhandle and that part of southwestern Kansas, there's just not a lot of places where many people are, right? So I think it was the best they could do. They were not killed at the meeting place. Apparently what happened is the highway was blocked by a stock trailer. A truck and a stock trailer, which then and had like a little detour, and so they drove down the detour on this dirt road and were stopped there, and I believe they were murdered there because that is where the blood evidence was with the kitty litter on it, or the cleanup stuff was there. So it was like, I don't know, 10-15 minutes north of their meeting place, almost exactly due north. Good question. Thank you for that. Mooney says I have to call her Granny. She doesn't like being called Granny, so I guess we should do that. Let's see. I see that Anna had a question, but I'm going to have to find that one. Let me see if I can. I don't. Yeah, I don't know how to help you there, Anna. I'm not sure. Okay, we have a super chat that came in. Thank you very much. Statham Scapegoat says, I've really enjoyed your reporting, your mods, and the chat. Thank you very much. The chat is good. You guys do a very, very good job. Thank you all for remaining respectful and kind to your fellow viewers. Not your fellow viewers, your fellow viewers. And my mods are the best. My mods are the best. And keep in mind, if you want to support my mods, they do this all voluntarily. There's a couple things you can do. Number one, you can go to this support page on my website, scroll down to the bottom, and click on Buy Mods a Cup of Coffee. That is something that you can do for my mods. Also, don't forget that they are the admins of the Fish Tank over on Facebook. Man, we're eking closer and closer to that 1,000-member mark. If you haven't joined the Fish Tank yet, that is a great place to join. We like to talk about true crime and fun stuff over there. All right, let me see if there are any other questions before I head out for the day. Nope, I think we are good. Guys, thanks so much for joining me. I deeply appreciate it. And remember, you can go see all those documents over on the website anytime. Now, there are a whole bunch of little minor things that have been happening on a lot of cases that we're following right now. We've got some documents in the Micah Miller case. We've got, we've got a lot of stuff coming out right now. So, stick with me. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And before we go, there's one more thing I wanted to address real quick. Let's see if there's one other thing that came in. SIP and were they buried alive? I don't think so. And there's no indication that will tell us that. That reminds me, the whole idea that they would bury somebody in a box, in a chest freezer, it just kind of goes to their lack of, I guess, brilliance. I mean, there's a lot that goes to their lack of intelligence on this. Like, you want your evidence to go away, right? So why put them in a box? It's really interesting. I do not think they were buried alive. I really don't. I think that Jillian put up a good fight. She was armed. There was blood on the ground over at the place where their car was found. No, I don't think they were buried alive. But I don't know that. There's nothing that has indicated it either way. Hey, one other quick thing that I wanted to address. Last night we had a little bit of a... why do I have problems with this word? I'm trying to think of the word that is right. It was a controversial guest, Jennifer Coffindaffer. I love Jen. I've worked with Jen on the Ellen Greenberg case. I've always found her to be a very, very good resource, and I know that a lot of people don't. A lot of my viewers don't. But I wanted to thank you all for your comportment, for your awesomeness in last night's chat about the Karen Read trial with Jen Coffindaffer. Now, I've reached out to a couple of other people about that case to see if they would like to come on the channel, and I'm trying to work that out. Of course, we're in the middle of the trial, so everybody who really is watching the trial is watching closely and is kind of busy, but I'm starting to work that out. We might have some other guests here in the future on the Karen Read case. But then again, we're going into the Micah Miller case and lots of other things. So please don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And with that, I will bid you adieu. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.